But let's talk now to Paul Richards. He's the former Labour Party Special Advisor who's bravely joining us to talk about, well, where Labour are right now. Very, very good afternoon to you, Paul.
Hello, Julia. How are you?
Very well indeed. Well, look, Labour, amazingly second in the polls right now. Mind you, Tories doing worse, fourth in the polls behind the Lib Dems, but Reform riding high. Big spring in his step with the leader of Reform UK, Nigel Farage, giving a press conference just under 2 hours ago, where he's talking about, well, really parking his tanks on Labour's lawn when it comes to things like wanting to scrap the two-child benefit cap, winter fuel allowance being returned to all pensioners. Although onto Tory territory with a marriage tax allowance. What do you make of the threat that Reform poses to your old party?
Well, he is a threat, and I've been saying this for months, but he's, I think, possibly overstepped the mark today because he's launched a whole load of policies without any real commitment to how it's going to be funded. And also, he's doing things like saying he's going to scrap the two-child benefit cap, which is going to go down like a cup of sick with lots of the people who might vote for Reform. And we've heard some of them already on talk, haven't we? Being really rather disgruntled.
I'm absolutely flabbergasted by this policy announcement, actually. I don't know who he thinks it's appealing to. I mean,
it's a liberal left argument. Somebody like me would think, yeah, that makes sense. It's lifting kids out of poverty, it's using the welfare system to help people. But a lot of people don't think of it in that way. So people perhaps inclined to vote Reform, there's going to be a big revolt from the grassroots.
Do you think this will actually lift kids out of child poverty?
Well, the Resolution Foundation modelling suggests, as a think tank, they suggest that it would. And I think there are obviously families struggling right now for whom that bit of extra money for the third or fourth child that they already have is a good idea.
What would be a better solution? Can anyone think of a better solution for a family that aren't working with 3 or 4 children, how they could possibly get more money in? Can anyone think of any other way they could get money?
Yeah, anyone? You know full well that we're trying to get people into work as well, though. Of course work is the answer. Work is the answer to virtually every problem.
So giving people more benefits will definitely incentivise them to work more?
No, it means that there's children currently in poverty who won't be, which is good for growth of the economy.
But they won't be if their parent got a job next week, would they?
But we are encouraging people into work as well.
How do we encourage people into work? By giving them more benefits to have more kids?
Because you've got to look at the whole package of measures that Liz Kendall's going to be coming up with for her child poverty strategy, which is to get people, particularly young parents, into work, more apprenticeships, getting people into trades and into the trade training that they need, because we need people working.
Yeah, I'm all in favour of all of that, but those aren't largely on young parents, but mostly we want people to be able to pay their own kids, and if they can't afford to pay...
There's another argument there. Another argument which again appeals to the right. Of course, we do need to repopulate the UK. We're sort of in danger of dying as a society because we're not having enough children. And I think this
do we want to encourage people who won't work and can't afford to look after their own children to have an, or do we want to encourage people who've been good contributors to society already, providing for their children? Because I'm thinking maybe people want their kids more.
Well, I'm not going to.
Is that eugenics? I don't know.
I'm not going to make that judgment whose kids deserve more than others. I just think we need a bigger population.
I'm just saying No, we don't need a bigger population. What we need is more people working. We need more young people working. The children of people who don't work largely don't work themselves. Worklessness breeds worklessness.
Well, children growing up in poverty are often then excluded from the society and
how are they excluded from society?
Well, they will be if they grow up in poverty, which is why I want to get people out of poverty.
How are they excluded from society?
Well, because they can't afford to do the things that you and I might do, like go to the theatre or travel
if you can't go to the theatre, millions of people can't afford to go to the theatre because they're paying so much tax and paying so much for their housing.
I think those kinds of opportunities that are there for middle class kids should be available to all. And a small measure like this is part of a bigger package of getting into the mainstream of society, including work, which we all agree is better.
Okay.
Not just said, is it?
I know it's not being clear, but I think it's interesting. The first thing you jumped to. What about winter fuel allowance to all pensioners? We know there's already been a hint of a U-turn from the Prime Minister on that.
I don't think, God bless him, Mick Jagger deserves the return.
Why not? Why not? He's paid millions of pounds in tax. Why not give him an extra 300 a week?
Because the millionaires do not need the money, which again...
No, but he's already paid for his own. He's paid for my winter fuel allowance in years to come, yours and every pensioner right now. He's paid enough tax, probably, when he wasn't living out of the country.
it should be going to those that deserve it the most, which was why I think you'll see a recalibration from the government. But for Nigel Farage to say, millionaires should get this free tax, this money from taxpayers, I think, again, is an astonishing move for him to make.
Why do you think it was paid to everyone originally? It's because the cost of means testing is greater than the actual benefits you get from cutting out some of the richer
Well, I think
pensions.
that was originally true, but I think nowadays it's not. It's easier to do that.
Too
But
many
I think where the line is drawn, I think needs to be debated. I think there are more people that should be getting the fuel allowance. But Nigel's saying give it to millionaires. Doesn't help with the whole he's on the side of the millionaires shtick.
Yeah, but the millionaires aren't going to notice it. They're just going to heat their pools.
Exactly.
But exactly. But they've already paid for it. Or you just put it in with the main benefit, the main pension, and then people can get they can get taxed on it, and you can solve it that way. Just finally, really briefly, Kosovo, we're told, is open to becoming a return hub for failed UK asylum seekers. The president has welcomed talks. We know that Albania have said no. The Rwanda scheme was scrapped, and that was scrapped, and that was for people who, even before they were failed. First of all, do you think that would be welcome? Is that something that the British public would want? And do you think it'll ever happen?
I think it's a good idea to look at because Kosovo loves us. Don't forget, the Kosovans think the UK is a wonderful thing.
But they want a load of asylum seekers,
and I think they would be willing to work with our government. And the signals are that it would work, and that would help speed up applications, stop the boats, and all the things that we all want.
Of course, they would assume that people actually got through the system and were actually failed before you could actually send them anywhere, though.
Well, it's not the single thing you would do, but it is one of the things you could do. And I think, as I say, we have very good relations with Kosovo. There are lots of kids called Tony Blair, believe it or not, in Kosovo.
Really?
And, absolutely true. It's a government that is in alliance with us. So why not? And then that is another way that we can try and cut down illegal immigration and legal migration too.
Paul Richards, that's my favourite fact of the day. Thank you, former Labour Party Special Advisor.